In our last video, we had worked with our controllers. Now we are going to working with the program.cs file. This is the main entry. I'll click on this file, which the template when we created this .NET application, like .NET New Web API. That time it was created by default. So we don't need all of this. Whatever written here, we need to remove all this. Now, first of all, what is this program.cs file? This is the main entry point of the application, and it does two things. It does the first thing is the register services. It registers the services into the dependency injection. This is where we tell .NET when someone asks for IProductService, give them a product service, because we are connected with this product service with IProductService. And second part is the configuration, the middleware pipeline, the order chain of components that process every HTTP request. First of all, we need all the packages in here. So I'll go with the Microsoft, then entity framework, then using product catalog API dot data, API dot services. We need all this in this program.cs file, and then I'm going to call this scalar dot asp net core, this package. Now after that, we need to configure this builder. So where builder equals to web application, this is web application for the API, and create builder, and we need to provide the arguments. Now next part is, next thing we need to call these services. So we'll call this builder variable dot services dot add controller, and then here we're going to call this open API. So I'll just comment it out here, open API. And now why we're using open API? Since we are building this application in .NET 10 SDK, and open API is the industry standard for describing REST APIs in ASP.NET Core 10, and it is a built-in open API support via Microsoft ASP.NET Core Open API, and we don't need third-party source bucket library in this application anymore. So if you are coming from the older .NET versions like .NET 8, 9, we used Swagger from the source bucket, and now that is removed, and whenever we are creating any template using .NET 9 isolated version and the .NET 10, we use built-in open API package plus scalar for the interactive UI. Alright, so we are not going to use Swashbuckle or Swagger. We are going to have this open API, and we can use these APIs like the get, post, request, everything through Postman. So now let's configure this open API. Again, we need to call builder.services, and then here we need to add open API, and here we need to pass the options, and it is going to be one arrow method. Now here options dot add document, transformer, and here again we need to have one more arrow method, and we need to pass some arguments or parameters over here. So doc first, second is the context, and the last one is the city. Now here we need to define this like doc dot info dot title equals to our title, what we need to provide. So this is going to product catalog API, and then we are going to provide the version of our application doc dot info dot version equals to, we'll provide v1, and then a little bit of description we need. So doc dot info dot description equals to uh, let's say REST API for product catalog. All right, and after this you need to return task dot completed task, like this. Now next section we are going to include entity framework SQL server. So this is going to be entity framework and going to be SQL server. Again we need to call this builder dot services, and then here we need to add db context, context, and here we need to provide the types. So this is going to be the app db context, and then options, then the arrow method, options dot use SQL server, and here we need to pass a builder dot configuration dot get connection string. So this is where we are calling the connection string from app settings.json. So connection string, and we need to pass the key of that value. So it is going to be default connection. So this is what we have written in our app.settings. Let me check the brackets first. So we call this is arrow method, and this starts from here, or we can have it simply in one line instead, because we are only having one argument. So I'll have it here like this. All right, the next part, we are going to register our service. So it's going to be register service, that is dependency injection and binding, then interface, and that is going to be like implementation. So this is the flow. So here we need only one line of code. So builder dot services dot add scope, and now we need to provide the I product service and then product service. I product service and then the bracket open and close. Now next part comes is for the build part. So this is going to be build, and here we are going to build this app. So variable app equals to builder dot build. Right now the last part of our program.cs file is to have the middleware. So I'll call this middleware together. Now what we need to call first the open API app dot map open API. This is first, and then we need to have this scalar. So app dot scalar dot map scalar to be map scalar API reference. Then we go for this app dot use HTTP redirection, HTTPS redirection, and then again app dot use authorization, and after that app dot map controllers, and finally we need to run this app. So app dot run. Now if you're looking at this add scope, we need, so when we write add scope, then this IP product service and product service, we are telling the dependency injection container that every time controller asks for an iProduct service, create one product service. Create one product service instance per HTTP request and dispose it when the request ends. Now we can have different options over here. Let's say if we go for add singleton, then one instance for entire app lifetime. If you use a add scope, then it is for a per HTTP request, it will be creating one instance. And if you are adding add transient like this, and this is going to be add transient, it means now it means that instance every time it's requested. So but we are using add scope over here, so it basically means every time the instance of product service will be created whenever there is an request, HTTP request.